Today on American Outlaw, the FUD, Ken Hackathorn, says you do not need a light on your pistol. Ken, is that really what you said?
Not really. And let me clarify or try to explain to the viewing audience what I'm talking about. You don't need a light on your gun. It's not a necessity. Contrary to what people are being fed, it's not a necessity. There are some applications. For example, this is my bedside gun. Yeah, it's got a light on it, but also right beside it, I also have a white light. If I'm going up into the back country and I'm going to crawl in my sleeping bag at night, remember this is bear country, a lot of critters with big teeth. This Glock 20 with a light on it is probably going to go in that sleeping bag with me. It has a practical application. We learned lessons over 20 years ago about lights. One, and we learned that basically we use three letters. A light has three applications mounted on a gun: locate, identify, and engage. Let's talk about locate. If you choose your pistol light in order to locate a target, you're violating Rule 2 of the Firearm Safety Code, which is never point a weapon at anything you don't wish to see destroyed. You're violating a basic safety rule. To identify the target, if you point your weapon and light to identify the target, you're violating that rule again. Now, people say, well, but you can take the light and splash it off the wall or the ceiling and see what's going on or identify. Yeah, you may be able to, but by doing that technique, which by the way, people don't do under stress, is can you tell whether it's a cell phone in their hand or a firearm? Under stress, people shine the light at the target to see what it is. Again, most people under stress, if they're in fear for their life or should we say under duress, they're going to have their finger on the trigger with 3 pounds of pressure on a 5 pound trigger when they're doing this. It's patently unsafe, a direct violation of one of the most important safety rules out there. So if you're comfortable breaking those safety rules and endangering people that shouldn't be endangered, I don't recommend it. What I do recommend is a handheld light. You can have this gun in your hand, and with a white light, you can locate the threat in your zone and you can identify it, and you're not violating any safety rules. Number three, engage. I will be the first to admit that with a white light mounted on the gun, I can engage and target more effectively with a light versus a handheld technique. I'll be the first to admit it works far better. And if you use it to engage a target, you will probably shoot much better as long as you're the only one doing the shooting. Because if they're shooting back, the white light's the bullet magnet. They're going to shoot at the white light. And guess what's going to be behind the white light? Yeah, not a smooth move. So while everybody thinks I got to have a white light on my gun, no, you don't. You can solve two of the three problems with a handheld much safer. And number three, just remember, guys say, well, my white light's going to blind them. No, it won't. It may blind them. They can still point the gun at the source of the bright light and start pulling the trigger. And guess what's going to happen to whoever's behind it? Not a good plan. That's what I was saying. If you're a cop, remember, cops have the responsibility to hunt bad guys. And if you've ever had to hunt and search it after dark, or you ever had to clear a crawl space or a warehouse, whatever, a light on the weapon is a handy thing to have. Now, mind you, you can point a firearm, a police officer who is under collar of office can point a firearm at another human being. They can threaten them with the gun. There's no legal repercussions because they're under collar of office. You or I do that in the private sector, we've just committed a felony, assault with a deadly weapon, or at the very least, reckless endangerment. That's my point. You don't need a light on your gun. If you have a specific requirement, bedside gun, backcountry gun, whatever, yeah, or a police officer, yeah, that they have that application. But for a private citizen who has no right to hunt bad guys, you can only use the gun in a defensive scenario. You cannot use it under the collar of office like a police officer. You can't hunt bad guys. You can't be offensive. So if you want to put a light in your gun, fine. If you want to put an aircraft landing light in your gun, fine. That's your business. I don't recommend it. I don't encourage it. And most people don't really analyze what is the light going to do for me. I had one individual said, well, anytime I've got a light in my gun, I can turn night into day. If I think about, are you violating two specific safety rules? in locating and identifying. And when it comes to shooting, assuming you're the only one shooting, great. If they're shooting back, not so cool. That's my read. You follow the rules that you think count for you. But as far as I'm concerned, having a white light on a gun, unless you have a specific application, is basically kind of reckless. It's people following the crowd. Let's face it. It's like I tell somebody back when I remember bell bottom pants were a big thing. I asked one of my buddies, "Hey, dude, what's the bell bottom pants?" And his answer was, "Well, everybody's wearing them." That's kind of where we're at. Look on social media, look in the publications. Everything you see is a gun with a light on it. And what's everybody think? Well, I got to put a light on my gun because everybody else has got one. Ask yourself, what do I need it for? What's my use for it? And the truth of the matter is, if you're in the private sector or you're a CCW carrier, you better have a flashlight in your pocket. That's far more important than a light on your gun. Give it some thought. Stay safe.
So Ken, I carry a light in my pocket, and I don't carry a light on my gun. Now I don't carry a light on my gun because in my history, I work for a living, and so I'm out. I was a carpenter for a while. I had on nail bags, or so I don't carry all of the. I know you see a lot of guys with this amazing EDC, and it's huge. I don't do that, but what I do know is that I use this light a lot.
That's a utility light.
Right. And I also hand this light to my kids a lot. My daughter comes up, Daddy, can I borrow your flashlight? I have given my flashlight to more people to use, and I've actually never given my pistol to somebody to use.
Absolutely.
And so, I did hear somebody once say, well, I would use it to change a tire. So you're going to use this as your primary light to change your tire? You're going to set your gun down? And no. Now, I'm with you. Do I agree that there are applications? Yes, your bedside light, or when I remember lights coming on, it was 1999 on Glocks, and our dog handlers at the police department had them. And they had them because they were holding a dog and then they needed to have a light. Now I really think that that's something that you and I talked about that I think is really important. As a police officer, we had levels of threat that we could have. So first one is verbal. Second one is I could put my hands on you. I could mace you. I could hit you with an asp. I could point my pistol at you. You know how many times I pointed my pistol at somebody? Thousands. You know how many guys I shot with it? None. I didn't shoot anybody with it as a cop. Now, when I do this, now I want you to think about this light, even as your light for your house. And I honestly don't care what you do, but I want you to think about this. I come into the room and now I'm clearing my house with this light. And I have 3 daughters. Y'all know that. There's my daughter. I just literally pointed this gun at my daughter. Okay. Now, there's another daughter, Now you scared me. Where do we, or what could I do? What was my,
Well, when I pick up this gun at night, if something goes bump in the night, no one like you, I don't. It's just my wife and myself. But the bottom line is, I pick up the flashlight. I'm going to do my searching, locating, identifying with the handheld. If it's something that I don't want in my house, that I feel my life is threatened, I can put the pistol into play real quick. And with the light on it, if I so desire, I can utilize the light. The white light provides you with more advantages. Hackathorn, you don't realize you're a what advantages? You point a gun somebody that shouldn't be pointed and they call the cops, hey man, just threatened me with a gun. First off, if you say, well, it was a mistake, you've committed in most states a felony or a misdemeanor. Could be brandishing, or if your defense is, well, I just wanted to see who it was, that's called reckless endangerment. You can lose your CCW over that. So most people don't think this through. Why is a light important? Does it apply to your needs? Or are you just copycatting what everybody else is doing?
and I think if you would go take a class somewhere, a low light class, you would realize that there's a lot of techniques, technique like this, a technique where I'm holding it high, a technique where I'm holding it at my neck, a technique where I'm flashing the room. It's really hard to do any of that with a pistol. Was it ever come out of your mouth that you shouldn't have a light on a
No,
pistol?
that's not what I said. I just said, do you really need one? Is it a necessity? It is not. As long as you have a flashlight, you don't need the light. As a matter of fact, you can locate, identify, and engage with just a flashlight. I'll be the first to admit with a weapon mounted light, engaging is easier. But there's a drawback to it. Most people don't realize prior to the war on terror, All your special operations people had lights on their guns. The primary requirement was to identify, because remember, what did they all have in common? SEAL Team 6 Delta, hostage rescue. You wanted to identify the hostages versus the bad guys. As soon as they went into Afghanistan and started clearing caves with white lights on their guns, guess what started to happen?
Mowed down.
I got shot. And what did they do? They very quickly, we saw the most rapid transition to night vision in history. Suddenly realized white lights will get you shot. We went to night vision, IR designators, and white lights disappeared in that realm. Now everybody in the YouTube world thinks if you don't have a light on your gun, you're a FUD. Well, I'm a FUD. And let me tell you something. When they're my age, they'll probably be kind of FUD-like too. Because what I have going for me that most of those critics don't have is something called experience. And I say 20 years ago, we learned these lessons from both reality and force on force. White lights on guns tend to get you shot.
So, do you need a light on your gun? That's completely up to you. If you want to carry it every day with this, that's fine. I tend to not because, again, I hand people this more than I don't. But I don't like a heavy gun on me all of the time. But I'm not saying, and I don't think Ken is saying, I think we're clear, if you want this on your gun, you can have it. I do think that you got to think about things like when I jerk down this pistol on somebody, who am I pointing it at? And then literally as a civilian, because you're a civilian, right? I'm a civilian, Ken's a civilian. I can't walk into a Walmart and the lights go out and point this at somebody who I think is a bad guy. I just committed a felony. If I pointed at multiple people, I did it too. I know you're saying, wait a minute, but I'm trying to save their life. If you've never been in a gunfight, which I'm assuming most of you never have, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know if you're going to get scared and pull the trigger. You know, I literally was a part of a cop clearing a room, a cop who had been to the academy and all of the training, and he shot a dummy at the college. He fired his round in the year 2000 and shot one of them big blow up dummies right square in the chest. We didn't even have a threat in there. So you don't know what you're going to do until you've been in the situation. So if it's your very first time, man, I don't know that I want to be the guy pointing this gun at somebody that scared me that didn't need to be shot.
And the difference is you're trained and you've got a background. I noticed when you're doing that, your finger was in the register position. 99% of the people on this planet will be doing it with a finger on the trigger.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So think about why, if you got a light on your gun, is it because I want to be a cool kid like everybody else? Fine. But is it a necessity or not? Necessity, maybe not.